Dr. Lisa Martinez wiped the sweat from her face as she walked through the strange jungle. The trees around her glowed with soft blue and green lights. It was like walking through a fairy tale, but this was real. She was on a moon far from Earth, and everything here was alien. Lisa worked as a scientist who studied alien life. She had dreamed of this moment since she was a little girl. Now she was part of the first human team to explore this jungle moon. The moon orbited a planet called Kepler 442c, and it was full of mysteries. Commander Jake Harrison led their small team. He was a good leader, but he worried too much about danger. With him were Alex Turner, their security guard, Nina Foster, their pilot, and Carlos Rivera, their engineer. Lisa was the only scientist in the group, and she felt responsible for making important discoveries. The team had been walking for 3 hours when Nina spotted something strange through the trees. "Commander, I see metal over there," she said, pointing to their left. Jake raised his hand to stop the team. He pulled out his binoculars and looked where Nina pointed. "It looks like a crashed ship," he said, "but it's not one of ours." Lisa's heart began to beat faster. A crashed alien ship meant they might find their first proof of intelligent alien life. This could be the discovery that changed everything for humanity. "Stay close together," Jake ordered. "Alex, keep your weapon. Ready? We don't know what we might find." They moved carefully toward the crash site. The ship was huge and made of a dark metal that seemed to absorb light. It had crashed into several trees, leaving a long trail of destruction behind it. Strange symbols covered the hull, and parts of it still glowed with an eerie orange light. "The crash looks recent," Carlos said, examining the broken trees. "Maybe a few days old." Lisa pulled out her scanner and pointed it at the ship. "I'm getting life sign readings," she said excitedly. "Something is alive in there." Jake frowned. "Could be the ship's crew. We need to be careful. They might not be friendly." As they got closer to the ship, they could see a large hole in its side. The metal was bent outward, as if something had punched its way out from the inside. Strange blue liquid covered the ground around the opening. "That looks like blood," Lisa said, kneeling down to examine it. "But it's not like any blood I've seen before." A loud crash came from deeper in the jungle. The team froze and listened. They heard heavy footsteps moving through the trees, breaking branches as they went. "Something big is out there," Alex whispered, raising his weapon. Jake motioned for everyone to take cover behind the crashed ship. They waited and watched as the footsteps got closer. The jungle became quiet. Even the strange, glowing insects stopped making noise. Then they saw it. The creature stepped into the clearing, and Lisa's breath caught in her throat. It was enormous, at least 8 feet tall. Its body was covered in thick, dark armor that looked like the shell of a giant beetle. 6 powerful arms ended in claws that could easily tear through metal. Its head was angular and fierce, with large amber eyes that glowed in the dim light. The creature was hurt. Blue blood flowed from a deep wound across its chest. It moved slowly, clearly in pain. Despite its injuries, it looked around the clearing with the careful attention of a trained warrior. "What is that thing?" Nina whispered. "I don't know," Lisa replied, "but it's intelligent. Look how it moves, how it watches everything." Alex aimed his weapon at the creature. "It looks dangerous. We should shoot it before it sees us." "No," Lisa said quickly. "It's hurt and alone. It's not attacking us." The creature turned toward their hiding spot. Its glowing eyes met Lisa's, and she saw something unexpected there. Yes, there was danger in those eyes, but there was also pain and confusion. This creature was lost and wounded, far from home, just like they were. Jake grabbed Lisa's arm. "Stay back. We don't know what it might do." But Lisa was already moving. She stood up slowly, keeping her hands visible. The creature tensed, ready to fight, but it didn't attack. It watched her with those intelligent amber eyes. "Lisa, get back here," Alex shouted, but she ignored him. She walked closer to the wounded creature. Her grandmother's scarf was wrapped around her neck. It was soft and warm, made of blue wool. Her grandmother had knitted it for her before she died, and Lisa wore it on every mission for good luck. The creature made a low growling sound as she approached. its claws extended, ready to strike. Lisa could smell its alien scent, like metal and electricity. Up close, she could see that its wound was very bad. Without help, it would probably die. "Easy," Lisa said softly. "I want to help you." She didn't know if it could understand her words, but maybe it could understand her tone. She moved very slowly, unwrapping the scarf from her neck. The creature watched every movement. Lisa held up the scarf so the creature could see it. Then she took another step closer. The creature could have killed her easily, but it didn't move. Something in its eyes changed. The anger was still there, but now there was also curiosity. "Let me help," Lisa whispered. She reached out and gently placed the scarf against the creature's wound. The blue blood soaked into the wool, but the scarf helped slow the bleeding. The creature made a sound that might have been surprise. It looked down at the human female who had chosen to help instead of hurt. For a long moment, they stood there together, the small human and the giant alien warrior. Around them, the glowing jungle seemed to hold its breath. Then the creature did something that shocked everyone. It reached out with one of its smaller arms and gently touched Lisa's hand. Its claws, which could have cut her to pieces, barely brushed her skin. "Lisa," Jake called. "Step away slowly." But Lisa didn't want to. Step away. She had made contact with an intelligent alien species. This creature was not just a monster. It was a thinking, feeling being that could choose between violence and peace. The creature looked at her for another moment, then turned and walked back into the jungle. It moved more easily now that the bleeding had slowed. Just before it disappeared, into the glowing trees, it looked back at Lisa one last time. Lisa stood in the clearing, watching the spot where the creature had vanished. Her grandmother's scarf was gone, wrapped around the wound of an alien warrior. She had no idea that this simple act of kindness would change her life forever. She had no idea that she had just made the most powerful friend in the galaxy. 3 days passed since Lisa helped the wounded creature. The team had set up their camp near the crash site, hoping to learn more about the alien ship. Lisa couldn't stop thinking about those amber eyes and the gentle touch of deadly claws. Jake was not happy with what Lisa had done. "You took a huge risk," he told her that evening as they sat around their campfire. "That thing could have killed you." "But it didn't," Lisa replied. "It chose not to hurt me. That means it can think and make decisions." Alex cleaned his weapon while they talked. "Just because it didn't kill you then doesn't mean it won't come back to finish the job." Nina looked up from her tablet where she was writing their daily report. "I think Lisa's right. The way it moved, the way it looked at us, it was definitely intelligent." Carlos nodded. "And the technology in that ship is incredible. Whatever built it is much more advanced than us." Lisa had spent the last 3 days studying everything she could about the creature. She had found footprints in the soft jungle soil. She had collected samples of the blue blood. Everything told her that this was a species unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. The creature was big and strong, clearly built for fighting, but it had also been careful not to damage anything in their camp, when it could have easily destroyed everything. That showed control and intelligence. On the 3rd night, Lisa was woken up by strange sounds outside their shelter. She listened carefully and heard what sounded like heavy breathing just beyond the trees. Something large was moving around their camp, but it wasn't coming closer. "Are you awake?" Nina whispered from her sleeping bag. "Yes, do you hear that?" "Something's out there. Should we wake Jake?" Lisa thought about it. "No, I don't think it wants to hurt us. I think it's watching over us." Nina looked at her strangely. "You think it's the creature you helped?" "Maybe. It might be curious about us." The sounds continued for another hour, then faded away. Lisa fell back asleep feeling oddly safe, as if something powerful was protecting them. She was right to feel safe. What she didn't know was that deadly hunters were coming. The next evening, Carlos was the first to notice something was wrong. He was checking their equipment when he saw strange marks on the trees around their camp. "Jake, come look at this," he called. The marks were deep scratches in the bark, much higher than any human could reach. But these were different from the marks their alien friend had made. These were longer and more jagged. "These are fresh," Jake said, touching one of the scratches. "Made today." Alex immediately went to check their security sensors. "We've got movement all around the camp," he reported. "Multiple contacts moving in a circle around us." Lisa felt her stomach drop. "How many?" "At least 6. Maybe more." Jake started giving orders. "Everyone to the center of camp. Activate the defense shield. Get the weapons ready." Their defense shield was a circle of energy posts that could stop most attacks. But as they watched their sensors, they could see that whatever was out there was testing their defenses, looking for weak spots. "What are they?" Nina asked, looking at the readings. Lisa studied the movement patterns on the screen. "They're hunting us, working together like a pack." A horrible howl echoed through the jungle. It was answered by another howl, then another. Soon the night was filled with the terrifying sounds of hungry predators. "Night stalkers," Carlos whispered. "I read about them in the mission files. They're the apex predators on this moon." Lisa remembered now. Night stalkers were wolf-like creatures the size of bears. They hunted in packs and could take down prey much larger than themselves, but they usually avoided areas where other large predators lived. "Why are they here?" she wondered aloud. "This should be territory belonging to something bigger." She got her answer when the first night stalker charged out of the trees. The creature was terrifying. It stood 6 feet tall at the shoulder with long legs built for running. Its mouth was full of sharp teeth and its eyes glowed red in the darkness. Behind it came 5 more, all charging straight at their camp. The defense shield sparked and flared as the night stalkers hit it. The energy barrier held for a few seconds, then failed completely. The power cells weren't strong enough to stop such a fierce attack. "Weapons!" Jake shouted. Alex opened fire with his rifle, but the night stalkers were too fast. They dodged between the trees, using the cover to get closer. One of them leaped over a fallen log and landed just meters from Nina. Lisa grabbed a plasma pistol and fired at the creature threatening Nina. Her shot hit its shoulder, spinning it around, but it didn't go down. The night stalker snarled and turned toward Lisa instead. "We can't hold them," Carlos yelled, backing toward the center of camp. More night stalkers appeared from the jungle. Lisa counted at least 8 now, maybe 10. They were surrounded, and their weapons weren't powerful enough to stop so many. One of the creatures got past Alex's fire and knocked him down. Jake tried to help, but 2 more night stalkers blocked his way. Nina screamed as claws raked across her arm. Lisa knew they were going to die. The night stalkers were too fast, too strong, too many. She closed her eyes and prepared for the end. Then she heard a roar that shook the entire jungle. The alien warrior exploded out of the trees like a force of nature. It moved faster than anything so large should be able to move. Its 6 arms struck, out in all directions, and 3 night stalkers went flying through the air. Lisa had thought the alien was big before, but now she saw it in full combat mode. Every muscle was tensed for battle, its claws extended to their full length. Its amber eyes blazed with fury. The night stalkers that had been winning just seconds ago suddenly found themselves facing something much more dangerous than humans. The alien warrior was a predator, built to fight other predators, and it was very, very good at its job. 2 night stalkers tried to attack the warrior from both sides. It grabbed one in its upper arms and threw it into a tree so hard that the tree cracked. The other it caught with its lower arms and lifted off the ground. The night stalker's howl was cut short. The remaining night stalkers tried to run, but the alien warrior was faster. It chased them into the jungle, and Lisa could hear the sounds of battle growing distant. After a few minutes, silence returned. The alien warrior walked back into their camp, moving more slowly now. Lisa could see new wounds on its arms and legs, but it had won. The warrior looked at each human to make sure they were alive. Then its eyes found Lisa. In those amber depths, she saw something that made her heart race. This creature had risked its life to save them. It had chosen to protect the small human who had been kind to it. Lisa walked toward the alien warrior, ignoring Jake's protests. She pulled out her medical kit and approached the newest wounds. The warrior watched her but didn't move away. As she cleaned and bandaged its injuries, Lisa whispered, "Thank you. You saved us." The warrior made a soft rumbling sound that might have been pleasure or agreement. It was trying to communicate with her. Lisa pointed to herself. "Lisa," she said clearly. The warrior tilted its head, then made a series of clicking and growling sounds. It pointed to itself and repeated the sounds. "Kethvar?" Lisa tried to copy the sounds. The warrior nodded and made the rumbling sound again. It had a name and now she knew it. As Lisa finished treating Kethvar's wounds, she realized that something incredible had happened. Not only had she made first contact with an intelligent alien species, but she had also made a friend. A very large, very dangerous, very loyal friend. Kethvar had appointed itself as their guardian, and Lisa had the feeling that their adventures were just beginning. Over the next 2 weeks, everything changed for Lisa and her team. Kethvar became a regular visitor to their camp. At first, Jake was nervous about having such a dangerous alien so close to them. But after Kethvar saved them from 2 more Night Stalker attacks, even Jake began to trust their strange guardian. Lisa spent every free moment trying to communicate with Kethvar. She had set up a basic translation program on her computer, and slowly they were building a simple language between them. "Food," Lisa would say, pointing to their rations. Kethvar would repeat the word in its clicking, rumbling voice, then make its own sounds for the same thing. "Kethvar," Lisa said one morning, "where do you come from?" The alien warrior pointed up at the sky and made a series of sounds. Through gestures and simple words, it explained that its people lived on many worlds far from here. Lisa showed Kethvar pictures on her tablet of Earth and human cities. The warrior studied them carefully, making interested sounds. It seemed fascinated by human art and music. When Lisa played a recording of Mozart, Kethvar sat very still, listening to every note. Its amber eyes seemed to glow brighter and it made soft humming sounds along with the music. "You like it?" Lisa asked. Kethvar nodded and touched its chest, then pointed to the music player. Lisa understood. The music made Kethvar feel something inside. Nina joined their language lessons when she could. She was good at understanding the clicking sounds that Kethvar made. "I think those clicks are like our vowels," she told Lisa. The pitch and length change the meaning. Carlos was fascinated by Kethvar's knowledge of the jungle. The warrior showed them which plants were safe to eat and which ones were poisonous. It taught them how to find clean water and how to avoid the many dangerous creatures that lived in the trees. "Your people are hunters?" Carlos asked one day, watching Kethvar track a small animal through the underbrush. Kethvar stopped and looked at him seriously. It made a series of sounds that they had learned meant yes, but then it added something else. Through gestures, it explained that its people were more than hunters. They were conquerors. They took what they wanted from other worlds. Lisa felt a chill. "Your people fight wars?" Kethvar nodded sadly. It pointed to itself and made sounds that meant different or wrong. Then it showed them its scars. Not just the wound Lisa had bandaged, but older scars all over its body. Slowly, over many conversations, they learned Kethvar's story. It had been a warrior in something called the Vorth Dominion. The Vorth were a powerful species that conquered other worlds. But Kethvar had been different from other Vorth warriors. "What made you different?" Lisa asked. Kethvar pointed to a small bird singing in a nearby tree. It made sounds that meant beautiful and wonder. Then it pointed to Lisa and her team, and made sounds that meant not enemies. Lisa began to understand. Most Vorth saw other species as things to be conquered or destroyed, but Kethvar saw beauty and value in other life forms. This made it unusual among its own people. "Is that why you were alone when we found you?" Nina asked. Kethvar's expression grew dark. It told them about fleeing from its own kind after questioning orders to destroy everything on a conquered world. The other Vorth had called it defective and contaminated for showing what they saw as weakness. Lisa felt angry. Caring about life isn't weakness, it's strength. Kethvar made a sound that might have been agreement, but also sadness. It had been alone for so long, believing that maybe its people were right. Maybe it was defective. But then Lisa had wrapped her scarf around its wound. For the first time, someone from another species had shown it kindness. This changed everything for Kethavar. The lessons went both ways. Kethavar taught them about its culture while learning about human ways. It was amazed by human creativity and emotion. The Vorth had art, but it was all about war and conquest. Human art was about love, beauty, hope, and many other feelings. Music makes you feel happy? Kethavar asked Lisa one evening, using its growing English vocabulary. Yes, but it can make us feel many things. Sad, excited, peaceful, angry. Music is like emotions that you can hear. Kethavar listened to this carefully. Vorth music only for battle. Make warriors strong for fight. Lisa played different types of music for their alien friend. Classical music made Kethavar thoughtful. Rock music made it excited and restless. A gentle lullaby made it very still and quiet. This song, Kethavar said after hearing the lullaby, feels like mother. You remember your mother? Lisa asked gently. Long time passed. She sang to me when small. Before warrior training. Lisa realized that Kethavar had been trained from childhood to be a soldier. Its natural feelings and curiosity had been buried under years of military discipline. Meeting humans was helping. It remembered who it had been before the war training. The breakthrough in their relationship came when Ben Cooper, their supply officer, got very sick. He had caught some kind of alien virus and was getting worse every day. Their medical supplies couldn't help him. Lisa was very worried. We need to get him back to the ship, but the shuttle can't land in this jungle. Kethavar listened to their problem and then disappeared into the forest. Lisa was afraid it had abandoned them, but 6 hours later it returned carrying several strange plants. Using gestures and its growing vocabulary, Kethavar explained that these plants could help fight the sickness. It showed Lisa how to prepare them, grinding leaves and roots into a paste. Are you sure this will work? Jake asked, worried about giving alien medicine to Ben. Kethavar made urgent sounds and pointed to Ben, who was getting weaker. It was clear that without help Ben would die. Lisa made the decision. We have to try. They gave Ben the alien medicine. Within hours, his fever broke. By the next day, he was sitting up and asking for food. Kethavar had saved his life. Ben was amazed when he learned what had happened. It went into the dangerous parts of the jungle to find medicine for me? Someone it barely knows? Lisa nodded. That's what friends do for each other. Friends? Kethavar repeated the word carefully. It pointed to Lisa, then to itself. Lisa friend. Kethavar friend. This was the moment when everything changed. Kethavar wasn't just their guardian anymore. It was part of their family. Jake, who had been suspicious of the alien from the beginning, finally accepted what the others had already learned. You risked your life for one of us, he told Kethavar. That makes you one of us. Over the following days, their bond grew stronger. Kethavar shared stories about its home world and the many planets the Vorth had conquered. The humans told it about Earth, about human history, about their hopes and dreams. Humans fight wars too, Kethavar observed after hearing about Earth's conflicts. Yes, Lisa admitted. But we also make peace. We learn from our mistakes. We try to become better. Vorth believe only strong survive. Weak must be destroyed. But you're not destroying us, even though we're weaker than you. Kethavar looked at its own hands, at the claws that could kill but had chosen to heal and protect instead. Maybe Vorth wrong about weak and strong, Lisa smiled. Maybe strength isn't about how hard you can fight. Maybe it's about choosing not to fight when you don't have to. This idea seemed to fascinate Kethavar. It had been the strongest warrior in its unit, but Lisa and her team had shown it a different kind of strength. The strength to be kind, the strength to help those who couldn't help themselves, the strength to choose love over fear. As the sun set over the alien jungle, Lisa sat next to her impossible friend and watched the glowing trees light up the night. She had no idea that their peaceful time was about to end. She had no idea that Kethvar's people were coming to find their lost warrior. And she had no idea that the greatest test of their friendship was still ahead of them. The peaceful morning was shattered by alarms from their orbital scanner. Nina ran to check the readings and her face went pale. "Jake, you need to see this," she called urgently. The team gathered around the scanner display. Dozens of large ships were appearing at the edge of the star system. Each ship was massive, much bigger than any human vessel. "Those aren't human ships," Jake said grimly. Kethvar looked at the display and made a sound of deep worry. It spoke quickly in its own language, then switched to broken English. "My people, they come for me." Lisa felt her heart sink. "How did they find you?" "All Vorth ships have tracker inside. Cannot remove." Kethvar touched its chest where a small device was probably hidden under its armor. Carlos was studying the scanner readings. There are at least 50 ships out there, all of them armed for war. Alex checked his weapons nervously. "What do we do? We can't fight that many." Jake was already trying to contact their own ship in orbit but got no response. "They're jamming our communications. We're cut off." Kethvar stood very still, staring at the display. Lisa could see the pain in its amber eyes. It had found a new family with the humans, but now its old life was catching up. "You have to go with them," Lisa said quietly. "If you don't, they might hurt us to get to you." "No." Kethvar's voice was firm. "They kill me if I go back. Say I am contaminated by lesser species. Say I am defective warrior." The alien fleet was getting closer. Soon they would reach the moon. Lisa knew they had to make a decision fast. "Then we fight," Jake said. "All of us together." Kethvar shook its head. "Cannot fight Vorth army, too many, too strong." "Maybe we can't win," Lisa said, "but we won't let them take you without trying." Nina was monitoring their communications when she picked up a transmission. "They're sending a message. It's in some kind of alien language." Kethvar listened to the message and translated. "Supreme Commander Thakmor demands return of lost warrior. Says humans must surrender or be destroyed." "Thakmor?" Lisa asked. "My former teacher. He trained me to be warrior. Very dangerous. Very angry that I ran away." The alien ships took positions around the moon. Lisa counted more than 60 of them now. Each one was armed with weapons that could destroy their small camp in seconds. "Why don't they just blast us from space?" Carlos wondered. "They want me alive," Kethvar explained. "Need to make example of defective warrior. Show other Vorth what happens to those who question the Dominion." A smaller ship separated from the fleet and began descending toward the moon. Through her binoculars, Lisa could see it was heading for their location. "Landing party coming," she reported. "Looks like a military transport." Kethvar began checking its weapons. The alien warrior had been carrying advanced guns and energy blades when they first met. Now it prepared them for battle. "How many Vorth warriors will be on that ship?" Jake asked. "Maybe 20. All trained killers. All believing humans are weak prey animals." Lisa felt afraid, but also angry. These aliens were coming to take away her friend and probably kill her team. She had never been a fighter, but she was ready to fight now. The alien transport landed in the clearing where they had first found Kethvar's crashed ship. The door opened, and Vorth warriors poured out. They looked like Kethvar, but their armor was darker and their weapons were bigger. Leading them was the largest Vorth Lisa had ever seen. This had to be Supreme Commander Thakmor. He was 9 feet tall and covered in battle scars. His amber eyes burned with anger and disgust. The Vorth warriors spread out in a circle around the human camp. They moved with perfect military precision. Lisa could see that these were professional soldiers who had conquered many worlds. Thakmor stepped forward and spoke in the Vorth language. His voice was like thunder rolling across the jungle. Kethvar answered in the same language. Lisa couldn't understand the words, but she could hear the emotion. Thakmor was angry and disappointed. Kethvar was defiant but also sad. "What are they saying?" Nina whispered. "Thakmor says I have dishonored the Vorth by living with inferior species. Says I must return for execution to restore honor. And what did you tell him? I told him these humans are my friends, that they showed me strength greater than any Vorth warrior. Thakmor made a sound of disgust and pointed at the human team. He spoke again, and this time his voice was full of contempt. He says humans are weak parasites. Says I am infected by your weakness and must be cleansed. Lisa stepped forward, even though Jake tried to hold her back. She looked up at the enormous alien commander and spoke as clearly as she could. We are not weak, she said. We are different. Kethvar learned this. You can too. Thakmor stared down at the small human female who dared to speak to him. He made sounds that might have been laughter, but there was no humor in them. Through Kethvar, he replied, You think words can stop Vorth warriors? You think your friendship makes you strong? I will show you true strength. The Supreme Commander gave an order, and half of his warriors raised their weapons toward the humans. Lisa saw her death in those glowing barrels. But Kethvar moved faster. It stepped between the humans and the other Vorth, spreading its 6 arms wide to shield its friends. No, Kethvar said in English, loud enough for everyone to hear. Humans under my protection. The other Vorth warriors looked shocked. They had never seen one of their own defend alien life forms. Some of them lowered their weapons slightly, unsure what to do. Thakmor's eyes blazed with fury. He drew his own weapon, a massive energy sword that glowed with deadly power. Then you die. With them, defective one. The battle began. Thakmor attacked Kethvar with the fury of a lifetime of military training. His sword moved faster than Lisa's eyes could follow. But Kethvar was ready. Their guardian fought back with everything it had learned in years of combat. The 2 Vorth warriors crashed through the jungle, their battle shaking the ground. Trees fell as they slammed into each other with incredible force. The other Vorth soldiers hesitated. Their commander was fighting the defective warrior, but some of them were beginning to wonder. Why would Kethvar risk death to protect weak aliens? Jake and his team used the confusion to fight back. Their human weapons were small compared to Vorth guns, but they were quick and smart. They used the jungle for cover, attacking and then moving before the enemy could target them. Lisa found herself face to face with a young Vorth warrior. The alien raised its weapon to kill her, but then stopped. It stared at this small human, who showed no fear, only determination to protect her friends. Why do you fight? The warrior asked in broken English. You cannot win. Because fighting for friends is never losing, Lisa replied. The young warrior looked confused. This was not what it had been taught about human weakness. The battle raged around them. Kethvar and Thakmor continued their deadly dance, both warriors bleeding from many wounds. The humans fought with courage that surprised the Vorth soldiers. Nina used her pilot training to outfly alien warriors who had expected easy prey. Carlos turned his engineering skills into clever traps that caught enemies by surprise. Even Ben, Cooper, still weak from his illness, fought to protect the alien who had saved his life. But Lisa could see they were losing. There were too many Vorth warriors, and they were too strong. Soon her friends would be dead, and Kethvar would be taken away to die. That's when she made a decision that would change everything. She ran between Kethvar and Thakmor as they fought, throwing herself directly into the path of the Supreme Commander's deadly sword. Stop, she shouted. I won't let either of you die. Both warriors froze. Thakmor's sword stopped inches from Lisa's head. Around them, the entire battle came to a halt as everyone stared at the small human who had placed herself between 2 giant alien warriors. You would die for this defective warrior? Thakmor asked in amazement. Yes, Lisa said without hesitation. And I would die for you too if it meant ending this fighting. For the first time in his long military career, Supreme Commander Thakmor was speechless. And in that moment of silence, something began to change in the hearts of the Vorth warriors. The jungle was completely silent. Every warrior, human and Vorth alike, stared at the small woman standing between 2 of the galaxy's most dangerous fighters. Lisa's hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. Why? Thakmor demanded, his massive sword still hovering near her head. Why would you risk your life for enemies? Lisa looked up at the Supreme Commander, then at Kethvar, then at the circle of Vorth warriors surrounding them. Because you're not enemies. You're people, just like us. People who can choose to be better. We are Vorth, Takmor roared. We are conquerors. We take what we want and destroy what opposes us. Is that really what you want? Lisa asked quietly. To spend your whole life fighting and destroying. Don't you ever get tired of the killing? For a moment something flickered in the Supreme Commander's eyes. Something that might have been doubt or even pain. The weak must be eliminated, he said, but his voice was less certain than before. Kethvar was your strongest warrior, Lisa replied. But it chose to protect us instead of destroy us. How does that make it weak? Takamor looked at his former student. Kethvar stood ready to fight again, but there was no hate in its amber eyes. Even now, facing death, it radiated the calm strength that had made it such an effective warrior. You were the best I ever trained, Takmor said to Kethvar in their own language. Why did you throw that away for these creatures? Kethvar replied in English so everyone could understand. They showed me there is more to strength than fighting. They showed me kindness, friendship, art, music, love. These things make life worth living. Those are weaknesses that make warriors soft. No, said a new voice. One of the younger Vorth warriors stepped forward. I have been listening and watching. These humans fought bravely even when they knew they could not win. They risked their lives for each other and for Kethvar. This is not weakness. Thakmor spun around to face the young warrior. You dare question Vorth teachings? I question whether our teachings are complete, the warrior replied calmly. We are taught that only physical strength matters, but these humans showed strength of spirit. They made Kethvar stronger, not weaker. Other young Vorth warriors began to murmur agreement. They had seen things in this battle that didn't match what they had been taught about inferior species. Lisa sensed an opportunity. Commander Thakmor, what if I told you the story of how I met Kethvar? Would you listen? The massive Vorth leader looked suspicious, but he lowered his sword slightly. Speak quickly, human. Lisa told the story simply and truthfully, how they had found Kethvar wounded and alone, how she could have let Alex shoot it, but chose to help instead, how she had wrapped her grandmother's scarf around its wound. I gave up something precious to help a stranger who could have killed me easily, she said. But that small act of kindness created a bond stronger than any weapon. She told them about the Night Stalker attacks and how Kethvar had risked its life to save them. She told them about the language lessons, the cultural exchange, the growing friendship. Kethvar didn't become weak from knowing us, Lisa concluded. It became more than just a warrior. It became a protector, a teacher, a friend. It became complete. The young Vorth warriors were listening intently. Some of them were nodding. These ideas were new to them, but they rang with truth. And what did you humans gain from this? Friendship? Thakamor asked. Jake stepped forward. We learned that the universe is full of wonders we never imagined. Kethvar taught us about your technology, your culture, survival skills that saved our lives. But most importantly, it showed us that understanding between species is possible, Nina added. It proved that we don't have to be enemies just because we're different. Carlos held up his scanner. The medical knowledge Kethvar shared saved Ben's life. Cooperation makes us all stronger. Even Alex, who had been the most suspicious of their alien friend, spoke up. Kethvar fought beside us like family. It earned my respect through actions, not words. Ben Cooper, still pale from his recent illness, walked slowly toward Takvar. This warrior went into the most dangerous parts of the jungle to find medicine for me. Someone it barely knew. That's not the action of a defective soldier. That's the action of a hero. Thakmor looked around at his warriors. He could see the doubt in their eyes, the questions forming in their minds. These humans had planted seeds of new ideas that might grow into something dangerous to the old ways. But there was also something else in the young warriors' faces, something he hadn't seen in many years of military service. Hope, wonder, the possibility that there was more to existence than endless conquest. These ideas you speak of, Takmor said slowly, they would change everything. The Vorth Dominion has existed for thousands of years. Our strength has brought order to chaos. But at what cost? Lisa asked gently. How many worlds have you destroyed? How many species have you wiped out? What knowledge, what beauty, what friendship have you lost forever? The Supreme Commander was quiet for a long time. Around them, the jungle seemed to hold its breath. Finally, he spoke. There is wisdom in your words, human Lisa. But I am one, Commander. The Dominion has millions of warriors, thousands of fleets. I cannot change an empire with a single decision. Maybe not, Lisa agreed. But you can change these warriors here today. You can give them a choice. Takmor looked at the young Vorth soldiers surrounding them. What would you choose? He asked them. Continue the old ways, or explore these new ideas? To Lisa's amazement, more than half of the warriors stepped forward. We choose to learn, their spokesman said. We choose to see if there is truth in what these humans claim. The Supreme Commander studied his troops for a long moment. Then he looked at Kethvar. My former student, you have caused much trouble, but perhaps you have also found something valuable. He turned to Lisa. You humans have presented me with an impossible situation. I cannot ignore what I have seen here today. Your species shows a kind of strength we do not understand but cannot dismiss. Lisa held her breath, waiting for his decision. I propose a test, Takmor announced. A small group of our youngest warriors will remain here to study your ways. You, humans, will return with them to our homeworld as ambassadors, under Kethvar's protection. If what you claim about cooperation and friendship proves true, then perhaps the Vorth must reconsider our path. And if it doesn't work? Jake asked. Takmor's expression grew dark. Then both species will learn the price of challenging the Dominion. It was a risk, but Lisa knew it was also an opportunity. We accept, she said. The Supreme Commander nodded grimly. Then let this experiment begin. But know this, humans. You carry the hopes and fears of two civilizations. Do not disappoint us. As the Vorth fleet prepared to leave, taking most of the warriors with them, Lisa stood with Kethvar watching the ships disappear into space. Her alien friend had wrapped a new scarf around its arm, one that Maria Santos, their cook, had knitted as a replacement for the one Lisa had given away. Are you afraid? Kethvar asked. Lisa thought about it honestly. Terrified. We're about to visit an alien empire that has conquered half the galaxy. We might not survive. But we go together, Kethvar said. As friends. Lisa smiled and touched the new scarf gently. Yes, together. 6 months later, the first joint human-Vorth research station was established on a peaceful world at the edge of Dominion space. Young warriors from both species worked side by side, sharing knowledge and learning from each other. In the station's central hall, behind protective glass, hung a simple blue scarf stained with silver alien blood. Visitors from across the galaxy came to see this modest artifact that had started a revolution. The plaque beneath it read, "Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can reshape the destiny of entire civilizations." Lisa, now serving as Earth's first ambassador to the Vorth Dominion, often stood before that display with her friend and guardian. They would remember that day in the jungle when a wounded warrior and a compassionate human had proven that understanding was possible between any two beings willing to try. The scarf had become a symbol of hope for countless species. It represented the power of choosing compassion over fear, friendship over conquest, and love over hate. And in the growing alliance between humans and Vorth, that simple piece of cloth continued to weave new threads of cooperation and peace throughout the galaxy. Kethvar had been right that first day. The small human had made the most powerful friend in the galaxy. But more than that, she had helped create a friendship that would change the universe forever. The Guardian had become the bridge, and the bridge had become the future.